you called yourself more of a generalist. I mean, yeah, more of a generalist as opposed to a specialist. Do
Mhm.
you think that has first let's talk about that a little bit. How do you think being more of a generalist has helped you, from a leadership perspective versus being more of a specialist? And do you think that that helps from a transformation perspective, being more of a generalist as opposed to a specialist?
So yeah, so being more of a generalist, I think gave me a little bit of the advantage of being able to be picked up and put in any situation that needed change, or maybe that needed to modernize, or that needed to do a digital transformation, etc. Clearly, I cannot go into legal and do legal contracts, right? And there's, compliance, risk, that type of thing that I would not be qualified for, but other areas. So, when I was assigned to lead the business services center at Equifax, I had never led a call center, but I was asked to go in and assess how the center was currently operating. The global chief operations officer thought that we had double the amount of people that we needed, and our KPIs were much lower than what he was expecting or needed. And so, by taking that generalist view, but having the background, the technology, business acumen, process, execution, etc., I was able to go in, develop a strategic roadmap, and execute against it. But I had to leverage people that understood call centers and call center technology and all of that. It's a matter of forming those relationships that we talked about, having that influence, and then being able to create and execute against a strategic roadmap. So I've enjoyed, Jennifer, being able to take on different roles and different flavors. I tend to get a little bit bored, by the way. So it's nice to be a generalist. It's not for everybody, by the way. There are people that are specialists that are phenomenal, and thank goodness we have them in their roles, right? Because it's what keeps the heartbeat of the company going in a lot of cases. But for me, I love having the variety and being able to move from place to place to go in and drive some of those significant changes that the company needs for their future state or for what the goals that they're working toward.
So you talked about being a mentor. So when you're mentoring, say, a new leader coming up, do you recommend to them do you have any recommendations for them? Do you encourage people to take one path or the other, the specialist path versus the generalist path? Or is that really truly kind of a personal preference?
It's a personal preference. There, like I said, there are a number of employees who are specialists who are absolutely phenomenal at what they do, and they're going to ride that course all the way out, which is fantastic. Um, I think the more that you enjoy developing strategy or strategic roadmaps and executing against them and driving change in the company fairly quickly, I think that leans you more towards being more of a generalist, because then you take that skill set of being able to drive things and you apply it to different functional
Mhm.
areas, right? And in some
Right.
cases, it's like a temporary thing. Like when I went over and led the business call center, and we executed against that strategic roadmap that you had something to do with. I mean, we were very successful there, right? I didn't stay. It was 18 to 24 months in and then out. But there's other roles that I've had that I was in for 4, 6, you know, years, because the roadmap was either longer, right? Took a little bit longer, or I executed the roadmap and then stayed to maintain it for a little bit. But the maintenance is what I tended not to do. So I think if you're a specialist, there's a couple things. You need to be okay with more of a maintain, which, like you said, there's not a whole lot of maintaining anymore because we tend to do we tend to do changes all the time now, or have to change all the time. Um, but you also need to be certain that that's a skill set that you just want to keep advancing on or continuing on. So for process leaders, for program management and execution leaders, there tends to be a cap as far as how far you're going to go, right? Unless you become more of a generalist in that space and become a chief transformation officer or something like that. So I think depending on where you sit, the idea of a generalist is very like more attractive, I should say. It's different and it's more attractive than if you sit over here and you are truly a specialist and you absolutely want to follow that all the way through to whatever career aspirations you have.